Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. Things have been pretty crazy since the last time I put out an episode. I'll get into that later. But first, Halloween is just around the corner, so I couldn't think of a better guest to have on this week. She's a paranormal investigator, tarot card reader, comedian, and one of my favorite people on the planet. It's the one and only Karen Rontowski. How you doing?
I'm doing good during Armageddon. It's not that bad over here.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, God.
Since it is Halloween, do you have any good ghost stories that you can share?
A ghost story of mine? I have a very creepy story.
Okay.
That's kind of ghosty. So I was reading tarot cards for a client, and she thought at night her husband was possessed. She would hear him in his sleep, and he would be making strange noises and kind of choking, but not choking. And he also had a drinking problem. And whenever you have compromise your aura with alcohol or drugs or stuff like that, you have a tendency to attract things. So he had been drinking, and so his aura was pretty compromised. I had earlier, probably 2-3 years earlier, had done an ayahuasca trip. And when you do an ayahuasca trip, you have a guide, sort of a spirit guide that brings you. And I remember in this trip, there was an Indian lady standing to my right and an African American man standing to my left. I looked at both of them, and the spirit said, "This is you." And I said, "Oh, this is me in past lives." And she said, "No, this is you now." And I said, "Oh, because there's no time." And she said, "No, this is you now on earth, as though I am split into 3 consciousnesses." Okay. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Cool. Didn't think anything of it. So when this woman is asking me about her husband, I close my eyes and I see one of his other consciousnesses. It is dressed like a magician, which is literally he was a magician, but in other words, the way I saw him was like the magician card in the tarot. So I couldn't tell you his real looks, but I could tell you this was the representation. And I said to her, "No, this is not a demonic possession or even a spirit possession. This is one of those things where I'm channeling, like the information's not even making that much sense to me, but this is what I get." I say, "This is one of his other consciousnesses." And I tell her my story about ayahuasca, and I say, "This is a very dark consciousness, and it's a magician, and it knows your husband is compromised. It also knows it's part of him, and it is literally trying to get into his body. So this magician that I'm seeing knows more than I do about being a different consciousness on the planet, and he's trying to manipulate into this her husband's body." And I say to her, "This is the strangest thing, but he can see me. He can see me looking at him and telling you this." And I was like, that was really weird, but whatever. Yeah. We're all fine. Her husband went to rehab. We're all fine. Okay. So pretty soon my apartment starts getting very haunted. And because I read tarot cards and I live in a very old apartment, it's like every once in a while, it's like, okay, I got to clean everybody out. Got to, do a cleanse. Starts getting very, very haunted. And then everybody starts talking to me about the same topic, which are jinn, which are Middle Eastern spirits that are not good. They're usually tricksters. And all of a sudden people are sending me podcasts about it. And someone is telling me she's a liaison for them, which you should never be. And I'm like, wow. So I end up talking to my friend who's my go-to guy. He's my demonologist friend. And I sent him the podcast of the jinn. And I said, jinn are very popular, whatever. It's like the new phase in paranormal. Everybody's talking about them. Nobody's being careful. He goes, "That's interesting because oops, hold on. We got one of these terrible cars going by." Oh, he said,
I thought it was a demon or something growling.
I know, right? It sounds like it. And he says, "Well, that's interesting that you say that because what you sent me didn't come through, as though my guides were blocking it for me." Wow. So everything I'm texting him is not going through. So I go, it's getting kind of weird around my apartment. And without missing a beat, he goes, "Karen, did you piss off a magician?"
Ooh.
And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't know what you're talking. As soon as he told me what to do. He goes, you want to get some Star of Anise incense? You want to burn? Soon as I burnt it clear as a bell, I was like, oh, that was that guy. Just like, I know you saw me. He sent something over.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's beyond crazy. And I know that's not like a ghost story, but it's weird that I'm reading for this woman and I'm seeing these things that almost doesn't make sense to me, but that is the paranormal. We don't even know 1/100th of 1% of what is real as in the paranormal, but it's always fascinating. It's the first thing he said to me, did you piss off a magician? And I was like, yeah, I don't think, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I did. So there's a creepy story for you.
I like to do something on the show called a question from my last guest, where I ask my current guest a question from my last guest without my last guest knowing who my next guest will be. The question can be silly or serious. Karen, are you ready for a question from my last guest?
Sure.
What prediction or predictions do you have for how 2020 is going to end?
Okay. I have many, and none of them are good.
Oh.
So
it's like the rest of the year, huh?
Right. Well, so here is the thing. I did not know COVID was coming, but I knew that I had posted on Facebook, there is life-changing stuff about to happen that is going to change us like 9/11 did. Astrologers have been pointing to November, December, January in 2020 for years. It is where the United States is about to sort of implode, but the other side is where we turn into a much better country. It's probably going to start with us not knowing who won the election and Trump not leaving. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, I want so-and-so to win. I want so-and-so to win. I don't think it matters, because there are forces right now that are getting in place to start kind of what would look like a civil war in this country. And I don't see us avoiding it. We had about 3 months where we could have cleared up and done it, but the hate and the rhetoric is so big right now. That's what's coming. I tell all my friends, buy your toilet paper in October, because we're going to be locked in. It's going to be COVID. It's going to be election mess. And there's probably going to be a third wheel here, which is probably a racial event or something that sort of tips the scales. It's like COVID in the beginning of 2020. It's like we're birthing a new nation, and that we're in the contractions, and November, December, January is the birth. Okay. So we all know how horrible birth is, but we know after it, everything is new and everything starts to heal. So I think it's going to really be a mess, and then we will start to rebuild. I would look for weird things with currency. There's going to be something going on with money. I don't think we will know who is president for a while. And we also may be primed for a terrorist attack. But it's kind of, sorry, I know this was, I'm wondering if the person before me even had any idea. But it is, hang on. We'll get through it. The economy, everything probably bounce back about 2 years from now. Not that it's going to be terrible, terrible, terrible. But in other words, just be ready, folks. That's going to be the big November, December, January will be the big change.
All right. Well, that is kind of grim, but
it is grim. But I don't think anyone is surprised either.
Right. This whole year has been like that. So I like to do something on this show called a question from the host, where I ask my current guest a question from myself without my current guest knowing what the question will be. The question can be silly or serious. Karen, are you ready for a question from the host?
Sure.
All right. What prediction or predictions do you have on how this interview is going to end?
Do a tarot reading? All right, let's see. Let's go to the deck.
All right.
It's going to end with you storming out. No. It's very interesting. So we already got through the hard part, which is funny because the first part that came up was the devil card, which I think we just did that prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to end very nicely. It's going to end with a little drama, but a lot of fun. And I think we have created a good podcast.
All right. That sounds great. Did you want to do a tarot reading real quick? Is that okay?
Sure. Well, I'll just do a real quick reading for next year for you.
All right. Sounds great.
When is your birthday?
It is June 9th.
Okay, 6/9, which is 15, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 11. Okay, interesting. Okay, so you are in a personal numerological year 1 right now, Jason, and that will end on your next birthday. You will then go into a 2. 1s are all about new beginnings. You just finished a 9-year cycle. Everything that did not serve you leaves you. This year is new. It's independent. It's fresh. It's new ideas. It's you setting out what you want to bring into your life for the next 9 years. So really be about goals and be about, I'll do that myself and let me try something new. 1s are wonderful and refreshing. All right, okay. Here we go.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. 2s are all about interpersonal relationships. Okay. Has your wife ever been on the podcast?
No.
Actually, I think she's going to do that this year.
Really?
I don't know what it's about, but I have her on the podcast. Listen, this is the time this is how I want to say it. Stay with what you're doing. But this year you're going to have way more creative ideas and easier and better ways to push forward. Okay. And really let your creativity go. Let risk guide you and don't hold back. If something feels like it's crazy, do it. You and your wife cards look really good. I do feel like there's going to be something about her voice, whether it's on the podcast, which I think it's going to be, or something else. She's going to really find her voice and start talking or saying what she needs or wants. And this is going to be all around. She's really coming into her own. So you're going to see her sort of get over stuff. And if it was, I don't want to be on your podcast because I don't like talking in front of people, that's going to change. You are going to have 2 business opportunities this year. Okay. I'm not sure who or where because I'm just doing this general pretty quick, but one of them you may pass on or there's something about it that leads you to the second. I really, really like the second one. The second one could move very quickly. I don't think it's a podcast. I think it's something else or doing something else or another way to make money, but it's not a bad thing. It's not like, oh, I got to get a job. It's kind of it seems like a business opportunity. Hold on one second. So I'm going to say starting in 2021, yeah, your wife is really, I don't mean this in a negative way, but getting over something or growing or something about that. Yeah, the first part of the year, you're going to feel like a lot of opportunities are blocked. So I want to say just wait. You're going to kind of feel like, especially after all that is going on, you're going to reassess. This may actually, all this stuff that's changing may have to do with you and your wife changing your voice. And what I mean by that is you may not be political people or there's certain things you don't speak out about. That could very well change after that. There is one trip, at least, that I see coming in 2021, and it doesn't feel exactly like a vacation. It feels a little bit intense. Okay. I don't have anyone dying or anything like that around it, but it does feel a little intense, like it's not a vacation. Okay. I am excited. Something new in business. That's all I can tell you.
Great. We can't end without talking about your podcast, Paranormal Karen. What's the latest on that?
Well, if anybody liked the crazy story about the magician, my podcast is called Paranormal Karen. I interview people in the paranormal. Sometimes I do it myself. I like to talk to a lot of psychics and healers and ghost hunters and just all kinds of people. If you like creepy, you'll love it. We talk about aliens, UFO, Bigfoot, all kinds of stuff.
All right. Sounds great. I highly recommend that as a very, very good podcast. Well, it was great talking to you. Where can people find you and your podcast online?
And thanks, Jason. I always enjoy doing your podcast. I'm KarenRontowski.com. Okay. And they can also find me at paranormalkaren.com if they can't find that. And from there, you can find my Facebook and my Twitter and Instagram. And Instagram is kind of my favorite. It's at Rontowski. But if you sign up for my email list, I send out like one email every 2 months. But I have a new CD coming out pretty soon. It's called Psychic Stand Up. It's where I read tarot cards for the crowd and make it real funny. So all kinds of stuff. So if you sign up for the email, you'll be in tune with everything.
Want to contact the show? Send an email to jason@wedon'thavecookies.com or call 929-266-9342 and leave a voicemail.
Hey guys, it's Elena Davies from the Miscellaneous Podcast. If you are listening to We Don't Have Cookies.
I am back, and joining me now is the world's most famous weatherman and YouTube sensation, Frankie MacDonald. Frankie, what's the weather going to be like this week starting on Monday?
And then you got some cold air, warm air fighting each other in Dayton, Ohio. We've got cold air in my area. Then got another low pressure system heading for Ontario, Quebec, and all these places in the eastern United States. That's going to bring rain again. Then they got a lot of rain in Europe, all across England and places like that, and all across. And China's rainy season's coming to an end. There's a big storm headed for Europe in UK and Ireland later this week. It's going to bring a lot of fires and a lot of hot weather in southern states like California and Arizona and those places, home of the Gary and Dino show. And New Zealand's getting warmer right now. It's been lots of snow in southern Chile and the mountains part. They're getting lots of stormy weather in southern Chile and southern Argentina, including Lucia, Argentina. South Africa's getting warmer right now. It's been a remnant to rainy season in southern China. In Wuhan, China, rainy season has come to an end. And the rainy season came to an end in China, and rainy season's going to come to an end in Thailand soon. India's rainy season came to an end. And Australia's getting hotter now. It's going to bring a lot of rain at this side of the hemisphere summer because of La Nina, the cold waters in the Pacific. Indonesia's getting so much rain this side of the hemisphere summer coming up. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Jakarta, Indonesia, and the rest of Indonesia because La Nina, the cold waters in the Pacific off the coast in Ecuador. And New Zealand's getting warmer this time of the year because this is their southern hemisphere spring. Did you hear about that? And in third world, that means when Americans enter Canada, they get a self-isolate for 14 days. When Canadians enter America right now, they get a self-isolate for 14 days. When Americans and Canadians go to Russia, emission reviews. Can't go into Russia at all. Not even professional hockey players. Can't even get home.
Wow, I hadn't heard about that. That's very interesting.
That means when Americans can go to Canada, self-isolation 14 days required. When they go to Russia, emission reviews because Russia has stricter rules. Japan, emission reviews. China, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and all these places. Emission reviews to go to Chile and Argentina right now. Emission reviews for Americans and Canadians.
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, Americans and Canadians can't go to Argentina because of COVID-19 when they try to go to Argentina. Emission reviews.
Well, I've planted a lot of trees in the yard this year, and one thing I like to do is dedicate a tree to somebody that is in my life, like a family member, a friend, things like that. Some of the listeners...
Your close friend.
Yeah. And some of the listeners have actually paid to have a tree dedicated to somebody they know. I think it would be nice because you've come on the show, you've sang the song Peaches before. I think it would be nice if we could try to raise a couple of dollars from the listeners and fans to put together so I can buy a couple of peach trees and put out there for Frankie MacDonald. What do you think?
Great idea for the peach trees. And did you hear about that? And they get a Frankie MacDonald weather station in Nevada somewhere, according to Gary Dino's show.
Really?
They get a Frankie MacDonald weather station somewhere in Nevada.
That is really awesome. I'm going to have to look into that.
They sold lots of Frankie MacDonald action figures yesterday, according to Ben Campbell. Yesterday, Frankie MacDonald action figures were in stock. They're sold out last night because a lot of people were buying Frankie MacDonald action figures.
Yeah, I love my Frankie MacDonald action figure. As soon as they get more in stock, let me know because people need to go out and buy those. They're really cool.
My bobbleheads are on National Bobbleheads Hall of Fame. Do you know Dylan Atack? He lives in Hamilton, Ontario. I was on the CH News in Hamilton, Ontario. Dylan Atack.
Nice. You seem to be
He's you could interview him.
Yeah, that would be cool. You seem to be making a lot of appearances on really cool places.
That means that I've been interviewing a lot of celebrities and a lot of famous people so far.
Yeah, I really enjoy hearing that, Frankie. Well, is there anything you would like to promote before you go?
My bobbleheads on National Bobbleheads Hall of Fame is Talking Frank Down Bobbleheads. On National Bobbleheads Hall of Fame website, people can order them on National Bobbleheads Hall of Fame. Talking Frank Down Bobbleheads. My book is on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. Barnes Noble chapters and Indigo, people can buy them.
All right, Frankie, it was great talking to you. I look forward to talking to you next week.
Bye for now. I'm Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to We Don't Have Cookies Internet Radio Show.
Always good to hear from Frankie. Like I said a few minutes ago, if you would like to donate to get Frankie his own peach tree in my yard, I will pin a tweet on my Twitter account with my PayPal. My Twitter is at JasonMarshall2. That's Jason, Marshall, and the number 2. Not allowed to buy any more trees for the house, except for some privacy trees to finish things up. Had to draw the line somewhere and stop myself. So far this year, I've bought 155 trees, so I gotta stop spending money on them. If I buy a peach tree or two for Frankie, I know I'll see a deal for free shipping if I spend a little more, or buy 3 fruit trees, get 1 free, and I'll end up buying some cherry trees or something. So I just have to stop myself. If I get donations specifically for that, then I'll do it, but that's the only way. I know some of you think it's crazy that I've been going so hard in my yard for the last year or two, but there's more to it than just trying to get it to look nice. My dad bought this place decades ago. He always tried to make it look good and took a lot of pride in it. Then when him and my mom got divorced, she got the house and it went downhill. Once I bought it from her, it took a while to get it to look decent. Now I'm trying to get it to look good because I want my dad to see it finished. And to me, all of this is more his legacy than mine, and I want to make him proud. And he's almost 80, so I'm working as hard as I can while he's here. Speaking of working as hard as I can, that has a lot to do with why there hasn't been shows lately. The other podcasts that I work for have been sending me a lot of episodes, and it's kept me really busy, which is great because I need the money, but it's limited the time that I can spend on this podcast, which sucks because I really like to do this podcast, but have to focus on making money to pay those bills. But I have some time now to put into the show, and I've got some fun guests coming up. I want to thank all of you who have stuck with me through the recent breaks. It means a lot. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next Monday.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
Did you piss off a magician?